Okay, really quick, before anybody gets up on the comments, blows up my phone saying that I didn't update y'all, I didn't tell you when I was dropping, I didn't tell you I was making a YouTube channel. If you follow me at Jeremiah_Flack, that's where I will be posting all of my updates and regarding the series. So, without further ado, sit back, grab a snack, relax, and enjoy episode 1 of The Hang. Shoot, we had to bust out the Tyler the Creator for episode 1, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, hello, welcome, my name is Jeremiah Flack, and welcome to episode 1 of The Hang, where we talk about issues regarding music and the culture that it creates. Today, we're going to be talking about Penny Goodwin and the effects of canonization. Now, for this video, I was doing a bit of research, and interesting enough, 2 things popped up when I was looking up Penny Goodwin. First, her work, her only work it seems as though, Portrait of a Gemini, which I was introduced to by the song playing in the background, Tyler the Creator, Hot Wind Blows, which, phenomenal, both the Tyler the Creator song and the record. Please, pause the video, go listen to it, come back, or even listen to it afterwards. It's a phenomenal body of work, a phenomenal continuity between the two. Anyway, that came up. And also, this little paragraph that I found in multiple places, doesn't really seem to have an origin, that comes up in multiple websites, but I'll be reading it from bandcamp.com. It goes as follows. Penny Goodwin grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, singing in church with Al Jarreau, doing weddings, talent competitions, and bar mitzvahs. When she left school, she started singing in popular mob-run clubs such as Alfie's, Sardinos, and King's Ford, graduating to clubs in Chicago and Caesar's Palace in Vegas. Despite her huge talent, only this one studio LP exists, a mist of covers by Marvin Gaye, Gil Scott-Heron, plus original songs by herself and manager Cy Lefka. I apologize if I butchered your name. The LP also featuring strings by members of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra and jazz guitar legend Phil Upchurch, one of the great American jazz vocal LPs by Milwaukee's unsung queen of jazz. Now that's a powerful paragraph, a very powerful statement to make about an artist. But for this to be the only testament of her work, her existence, we don't even have a birthday from what I've researched, a death date, if we even know if she's still alive. We don't even know the ins and outs of what her career was. Just for this little paragraph to exist really makes you wonder what happened to Miss Goodwin. Now, when listening to the album, as the paragraph stated, of course there's cover songs by Gil Scott-Heron, songs by Marvin Gaye like What's Going On, and some of her own originals. But truly, it's a mix of a lot of things. Soul, jazz, you could say a little bit of early R&B. When you listen to it on Apple Music, which is where I originally listened to it, it classifies it as a soul record. However, we look into the paragraph and whoever wrote it called her the unsung queen of jazz from Milwaukee. So it really makes you wonder, what is it that's going on that causes this lack of information and also confusion into not only this artist but the information around it? We have to look into what could have caused this. By all means, some people may immediately say, well, maybe she just recorded one LP. Maybe this is just all we have due to poor documentation. However, I want to pose a different side to what potentially could have happened. While yes, she could have just had one record, we already have some form of definitive proof that she performed beyond this album. She's been performing since she's been in church and in her early days with Al Jarreau. where are those documents? Where is the evidence that leads us to those recordings, or even just to the simple documentation of a program, of a church program, a music program, and a concert? Where are those things? I believe that it is a problem that stems from how we, as both musicians and as musicologists, really look at the canon. And in order for us to really get into that, we have to first understand what is the canon and what is canonization. So to understand the canon in jazz performer terms is the lineage, the way we look at history. So when we look at the canon of jazz and the canon of jazz musicians, we're looking at people like Louis Armstrong, Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, Thelonious Monk, and so on and so forth. When we're looking at the canon for jazz vocalists, we're looking at people like Ella Fitzgerald. We're looking at people like Billie Holiday, Nina Simone, Aretha Franklin to a certain extent, when we look at her work with Clark Terry and some of her intersections with jazz in general. But where does Penny Goodwin sit in this? Where does other artists like Penny Goodwin sit in this? And with that, we have to start figuring out what makes the canon, what makes these people in these lineage, and what makes Penny Goodwin excluded from that. And to understand that, we have to understand canonization. Canonization, described and defined by the website themusicsalonblogspot.com, is the slow recognition over time of the quality of a particular work or the work of a particular composer. Now, when we look at canonization, a lot of times we're sitting over there like, well, what does that mean? The slow recognition of art over time, essentially. Well, we're looking at things like So What, which is based off of its impact, based off of not only the quality of the art, but how it impacted the scene and how it impacted musicians moving forward. We're looking at pieces like Hot House. We're looking at pieces like Night in Tunisia, where now we recognize them as jazz standards in the performer realm, but we're also recognizing them not only because of the quality of the music, but again, by impact. When we look at canonization, we often have to figure out, how do things become canon? Who recognizes what, and why does that get included, and why do other things get excluded? Now, of course, by all means, we can sit there and point to the labels of things like jazz and soul and R&B and say, well, this is jazz. We could say this is jazz because it swings. We could say this is jazz because it has a particular set of chord changes. It uses a particular set of theory. However, I don't think that's the role here when we look at the exclusion of artists like Penny Goodwin. When we're looking at people like her, she fits in that category, especially when we look at Portrait of a Gemini. For example, we could look at her work with her What's Going On cover, or rendition I should say, and look at how it starts. It begins with a double time swing. Or we could even look into another work. We could look into the song that ended up being sampled by Tyler, the Creator, Slow Hot Wind. When the piano solo starts, we hear the pointietta groove start to come up. And through some of these examples, I hope you're getting a good picture of what this artist truly entails. Obviously, the whole album is not dedicated to jazz in its tradition. However, just because she may have veered off in certain realms and in certain songs, I don't think that should take her out of the lineage. Again, the paragraph says she is Milwaukee's unsung queen of jazz. To be an unsung queen of jazz, how big was your impact in Milwaukee? By no means have I lived in Milwaukee or do I have any knowledge base of it, but to be a queen of something, especially in a region or in a place like Milwaukee, you have to have a big impact. And it goes to show, without saying, that she has had a really great impact, especially with how they write her, at least in the very, very little that we see written about her. And with that, we have to figure out, well, what is it that we're doing as musicologists, or what is it that we're doing as musicians that perpetuate this standard of exclusionary canons? Because by all means, we adhere to a tradition. As a trumpet player, I always adhere to the tradition of the jazz trumpet. But also, I need to still recognize that there's people that get excluded in that, like Russell Gunn, who is an Atlanta-based trumpet player who truly exemplifies the sound and the quintessential sound of a jazz trumpet in Atlanta. Or even taking it away from the jazz trumpet realm in the sense of excluding artists like Chuck Brown from Washington, D.C., a go-go guitarist who, yes, you can say go-go is not jazz, but it is a derivative of such that brought multiple people to jazz. We start looking at these issues, and we have to start figuring out, well, how do we perpetuate these norms? Do we perpetuate these norms based off of misogyny, racial isms and schisms? Or are we perpetuating this purely by not even acknowledging that these artists exist? Because by all means, a lot of times we turn a blind eye into these artists without really truly looking at, oh wait, we haven't documented this. Why? Especially if you're with someone like Al Jarreau. Why haven't we documented that woman? Why haven't we documented that great artist? And with that, we really have to truly ask ourselves, what is it that we're doing that is perpetuating this? Are we not playing their music? Are we not talking about them and bringing them up in conversations? Are we not also bringing up these examples and trying to document this further, like even myself with this YouTube video? Wynton Marsalis said it best one time at the inaugural Jack Wooten Jazz Championship, and I'll let him say it because I don't want to misquote him.
If you say you are part of it, you are part of it. That's first. Like I used to always say back when I could play a little bit of basketball, no matter how sad I am, I'm still a basketball player. I'm just a sad basketball player. So you are part of the tradition.
If you play this music, you're automatically a part of this lineage, regardless of race, culture, creed, regardless of who you are, how you are, or any of that. And with that, I think we truly need to adhere to it. I think by all means, in ideology, we adhere to it and we believe it, but we need to act upon it. And with that, we need to recognize these people. We need to recognize people like Penny Goodwin. We need to recognize people like Chuck Brown. We need to recognize people like Russell Gunn and truly look at how do we fix the canon so that the history of it is properly documented. Because by all means, history is objective, but the way that we tell it has not been objective in the slightest. We need to truly hone in, both as musicologists and performers, how do we fix this issue? By no means am I trying to propose a solution, but more so start a discussion that hopefully will drive the point home that the canon is not perfect. In the way that it is now, it is not perfect. We are missing a whole bunch of pieces by region, by city, by identity. And the sooner that we do that work, the sooner that we begin the discussion and begin figuring out how can we work towards something greater, the sooner we can begin to start teaching and start showing that everybody has an opportunity to be a part of this music. I thank you all for watching this video. I hope that this wasn't too long. I hope that it didn't come across too dark, too gloomy. There will be more videos in time. If you really have any topics that you want to shoot to me or you want to suggest, put them down in the comments, put them down in my Instagram, my DMs. Again, at Jeremiah_Flack. And I truly appreciate you guys watching this. Even if you watched it and you didn't like the video, I appreciate you giving me a view and just giving me a chance to, interrupt your day with hopefully good vibes and good knowledge. With that, share, like, subscribe, and hopefully I can welcome you back again for episode 2 of The Hang.